Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to show you how to create and design a Power BI report or dashboard, just like what you're seeing on the screen right now. So we're going to learn a lot of things from this video, from using some advanced measures, some advanced DAX functions to create measures. We're going to do conditional formatting. We'll also create some dynamic icons, as well as using variables to also create our measures. We'll be using like charts, map, and every other thing that you need to know in order to design a beautiful dashboard or report like this. Okay, so if the first thing I would say is, if you have a Power BI project to carry out, you should always have an objective of your project. So your objective is going to help you know how to go about your project, and also help you to create relevant questions that is tailored to answering your objective question. So having an objective for any data analysis project is very vital. Okay, so we'll just get on with this video right away. But before we get started, I need to emphasize that I have already imported data. If you look at my data pane, I've already imported my data over here, and I've also created date table. I've created relationships between these tables. You can see I have several tables here, so I've created relationships between them. If you don't know how to go about that, please watch my video on Power BI tutorial for beginners. That video is well detailed, and you will get all the information that you need there. In fact, you will learn a lot from that particular video, just to know how to import data, create date table, and also create relationships between your tables. So let's get started with this particular project. So the first thing I'm going to do, we'll just go ahead to start structuring our dashboard. But before then, I'm going to click on View tab first. After clicking on View tab, where you have themes, I'm going to click this drop down, so you can see a lot of themes for this report. So this is the current theme that is being used by this report. So I'm just going to scroll down and click select customize current theme. Under the customize theme dialog box, what I'm going to do, I'll just edit certain colors that I want. I'm not going to edit the entire color, but if you want to edit all these colors and choose a particular color for your project, you can go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to change some of these colors, and I'll be using their color codes to do that. So that's the first color, and the second one is this. So my third color is going to be this color. So I have changed the colors I've changed about 3 colors for this particular theme. So if you want a particular color, if you want to use a particular color for your Power BI project, you can always check for the color codes on the internet. So this is where people customize their colors, and they are able to easily access them for their different charts and visuals. And that's where you see all the beautiful dashboards out there. So you can go ahead to change any other thing that you want to change. So for now, I'm just going to change the text. I'm going to create a general, I'm going to customize generally. I'm not going to go into these other details. And remember, anything here that you're doing can be changed. So it's very flexible. You can change it at any point in time if what you actually set is not what you want anymore. So for my font family here, I'm just going to select Calibri. I love Calibri font, so I'm going to select that. I can decide to increase my font size to 12. And if I want to change the font color, I can also change the font color. Remember, like I said, all of these things can be changed at any point in time. So after changing the font color, I'll just click apply. So I've applied my theme, and that is the first step I'm going to take. I can just come back and click on Home tab, and we're back to our normal home tab. So the next thing I am going to do is to click on format report page. Under format report page, I'm going to click on canvas setting. Then under type, I'll scroll down to select custom. So for my custom canvas setting, I want the height of my canvas to be about 840 pixel. And the width, I want it to have about 1440 pixel. That's how I want the canvas to be. Remember, you can always edit your canvas if you're trying to insert chart and visuals and they are not fitting into the page. You can always edit them. Then for the canvas background, I'll just click on it and go to color. So I'm going to choose this shade of black, and after then I'll just scroll through this transparency slider. I'll just reduce it to about 9. Let me leave it at 9%. Just reduce it to about 9%. If it's taking time for you to scroll, just type the number directly and it's going to set by itself. So that is it for our canvas background. The next thing I'm going to do is to click on Insert tab. So remember, we are still doing the structure of our dashboard. I'm going to click on Insert tab and I'm going to click on Shape. I'll insert a rectangle. After inserting a rectangle, I'll just readjust this rectangle and place it where I want it to be. Then I can readjust it just a little bit. After then, I'll click on Style. Then under Style, for the color of this rectangle, I'm going to choose this shade of black. I'll also remove the border for now. If I want to add the border later, I can always go back to that particular style button to add it. So this is my shape. The next thing I'm going to do right now is to insert an image. So still under Insert tab, I'm going to click on Image. So this image is basically going to be logo. You can always go to where your logo is. If you're working for a particular organization and you need to create a dashboard, you should always add a logo close to the title. So I've inserted this logo. I'm just going to readjust it. I'm going to readjust the logo and bring it down here. Okay, so that's it for the logo. And quick one, the next thing I'm going to insert is the text box. Still under the Insert tab, I'm going to click on Insert on text box. Then under text box, I'm just going to type the title of this report. I'm going to call it Sales. I'm going to type Sales Performance Report. Then I'm going to select it and increase the font size since it is the title of this page, and increase the font size. I can make it bold and also change the font color. I'm going to change it to this color. Then still clicked on this text box, I'll come over to Format pane and select Effect. Then I'm going to tick off the background for this text. I'm just going to reduce it a bit so I can place it where the title should be placed. Okay, so I have to drag it over here. Then I am going to duplicate that text box right now. I'll do Ctrl C and Ctrl V. So I've duplicated this text box. The duplicate I have created. So I'm just going to create a fictitious company that I'll use for this report. So I'll type ABC. And once I type ABC, I'm just going to reduce the text box just a little bit before I drag it to where it should be. So this is the text box. This is the company name. I'm just going to place it here. And I'll try to align it properly with the other text in this report at the moment. When I am done with that, the first set of things that we are going to start creating is our measure. But before then, I'm just going to duplicate this rectangle. Instead of inserting the shape newly, I'm just going to duplicate it and start using it for our measure. So for our measure now, on this rectangle, I'm just going to, after readjusting it, I'll just add a border to this particular rectangle. So I'll click on this border to change the color. So I'll change the color to this color. Okay, so this is how we want the shape that is going to hold our KPIs to look like. Then we will go ahead to start creating measures. So we need basic measures that we'll use for our KPIs, like total sales, total profit, sales year-over-year change, and a whole lot of them. So let's go on to do it. In order to do that, I'll just click on Home tab. After clicking on Home tab, I'll select Enter Data. So this is just for me to create a table that will hold all my measures. I don't want them scattered around in different tables. So I'm going to type measures with an underscore, because measures is actually a Power BI keyword. So I'm just going to type measures with an underscore, because measures is actually a Power BI keyword. So I'll click load. I'll just wait for it to update. So if you look here, we have our measures table now. So any measure I'm going to create, I'll just select it. So I'll right click on this measure and select new measure. Under new measure, we'll start by creating our first measure, which is total sales. So total sales will be using the DAX sum function with our sales column to create our total sales. I'll close my brackets and press enter. So after closing my bracket and pressing enter, I'm just going to copy this formula. Then I'll still selected on this table, I'll just click new measure here. So we'll create for total profit as well. So I'm going to paste the formula I copied. Then I'll change the total sales to total profit. So total profit is going to be sales minus cost. So I'm going to use the sum function for cost so that we will get our total profit. And that is it for total sales and total profit. We've created measures for those ones. The next measure we will create at once, because we'll need to use sales year over year. So you can also use a new measure and impute a formula, or there's a quicker way you can do it, because Power BI has some of these things already automated for us to use. So you can quickly, once you select on the measures table, where you see quick measure, you click on it. Once you click quick measure, you see this quick measure pane that is showing, and once you select this drop down, you can scroll and see different measures that are already automated that you can select anyone to use. So right here, I'm going to select year over year change. Once I select year over year change, under this base value, the base value is going to be our total sales. Base value is going to be our total sales, and date is going to be our date column. So I'm going to select the date, and that is it for our measure. Then I'll click add. So once I click add, you see that the measures have opened here, total sales year over year. So you can change anything that you want to change within this measure. I can decide to change it to sales underscore year over year change, and it's just fine like that. So if you change anything here, you just have to change it across board. So this is going to be our sales year over year change. Then I'll quickly copy this particular formula and then press enter. Copying this formula, I'm copying it because we have to create something similar for our profits year over year, but of course we are going to use the total profit to create that. So still selected on our measures table, I'm going to click new measure. So right now, since we are not using quick measure again, you can just close the quick measure pane. You can just close the quick measure pane so that our report is going to show properly. Then you come and click on new measure. Under new measure, I'm just going to paste the formula that I copied earlier on. So I'm going to change it to profits year over year change. Then under profits year over year change, after changing that, I'm just going to change this to total profit. So when you have total sales, you have to change it to total profit because here we are calculating for profit and no longer sales. So once you're done with that, you just press enter. So our measure has been created. So in what the next thing we can do is to just, while still selected on profit year over year change, you can select this percent. Since it's in percentage, we want it to show in percentage. So you click the percent icon. Then we'll also do similar thing for Okay, you already see that this is actually enabled. That means that sales year over year change is already selected since it was already automated by our quick measure. So that is what we are going to create. And some other measure that we need to create now is we're going to create for the sales last year and the profit last year. Don't worry, in very soon you'll see how all of this measure is going to help us create a very robust and dynamic dashboard. So still selected on our measures table, I'm just going to click new measure. Then under new measure, I'm going to say sales. I'll type sales last year, that is sales ly, and we'll use our calculate function. After calculate function, we're going to use our total sales measure and put a comma. Then we'll use our date add function. We're going to add our dates. You just select the dates column from the dates table. Then for the second argument, which is number of intervals, we're going to add -1. That's the interval of 1 year. Then for the third argument, which is interval, we're going to select here because this sales last year, we want to know the sales that we had for the previous year. So I'm just going to close this bracket and close again to close for the calculate function. Then I'll press enter. After pressing enter, I can just quickly copy this formula again because we're going to create for profits last year. So instead of typing everything again, we'll just do some minor changes so that we can get profit last year. So I'm just going to click on new measure yet again because it's a new measure we are creating. I'll paste this measure and change it to profit last year. Then where we have total sales, you just change it to total profit. After we're done with this, we click and we press enter. So we've created most of the measures that we need to use. We'll start using it on our KPIs. If we have to create any other measure just to use it for our report, we will in the course of this tutorial. So the first thing that we're going to create, we'll select our card visual. Once you select card visual, I'm going to select total sales. Remember, card visuals take only one value at a time. So for this card visual, I'll click on format visual. Then for the callout value, I just want to make it bold. Then I'll change the color to this color. Then I'll come to category label. I'll just remove this category label because I want to use a text to show the category label. So I'm going to remove the category label from this card visual. Then I'll go to general tab, select effect and tick off the background. So this is our total sales. So remember, you can always change anything. If you want to change anything in this card visual, you can always change it. So now for this card visual, I can come back to visual tab and click on callout value. I want to reduce the font size to 40. So after reducing the font size, you see our font size has reduced a little. I'm just going to readjust it and place it in the middle of this card visual. After placing it in the middle, the next thing I am going to add to my card visual, I'll just add a title. So I'm going to copy this text box. I'll duplicate this text box and drag it down here. So for this text box, I'm just going to type total sales. I'm going to select it and increase the font size to 14. Increase the font size to 14. So that should be it. Just readjust this. So remember, you can increase the font size to anything you want to increase it to. Maybe you want to make it more visible. You can always increase the font size, or let's just increase it at once right now. So I'll select, let me just readjust it so I can see the cursor. I'll select the total sales and maybe increase it to 16. Okay, yes, this should be fine. I'm just going to readjust this. Okay, and then place it right here. So that is fine by for what we want to do. The next thing we're going to add to this KPI is we want to add the sales year-over-year change. So I'm going to select the card visual again and select year-over-year change. So for year-over-year change, we're just going to readjust and come to format it. So for year-over-year change right now, I'll select it because I want to remove the decimal. I don't want it to have a decimal, so I want it to be an whole number in percentage. So I'm just going to type 0 and press enter. So you see that our sales year-over-year is now does not have any decimal right now. So I'll select the card visual again, click back on format visual. Then for the callout value, I'll just reduce it to 14. That should be the callout value. And I'm going to change the color. We'll change the color to this shade of white and close this. Then we'll also remove the category label. Remove the category label. Then we'll come back to general tab, select effect and tick off the background. So this is how our sales year-over-year is going to appear, or is going to display. So our title, total sales, is not showing properly. I'll just readjust the text box so as to show the values or the text that is within there. So that is it for our sales year-over-year. So the next thing we're going to add to this visual, for this sales year-over-year, we would want to add an icon, a dynamic icon that would change, such that if our sales year-over-year is below or is less than 0, it's going to change to a particular color, maybe red. So for us to do that, we'll have to create another measure. So remember, like I said, most times as you're going along in your reports, you can create measures as the need be. You can create measures to manipulate or just do anything that you want to do within your report. So I'm going to click new measure here. So for this new measure, I will say icon. I'll give it the name icon. I'll press shift and enter. Then we'll be using a variable to create this icon. So I'll say positive icon. Then we'll use a unicar function. So this unicar function has several codes that can actually render different, it could be emoji, it could be icons, and maybe symbols. So I'm going to use 9650. That's the unicar code we want to use, and I'm going to press shift and enter so that we can create another variable called negative icon. So under this negative icon, we'll also use the unicar function, and the number is going to be 9660. Then we'll press shift and enter, create another variable for the results. Then for our result, we will say if sales year over year. So we'll use an if function. So for our logical test, we'll say if sales year over year is greater than 0, then it should return a positive icon. Else it should return a negative icon. So I'm going to close my bracket. I'll press shift and enter. I'll press shift and enter again. Then I'm going to return this results. So that is it for my first formula. So for here, I can just click here to say sales icon. So I'm going to change the name of this measure. I'm going to change it to sales icon because we have to create another one for our profit KPI as well. So I'm going to change it to sales icon. I'll select all the formula and copy it. Then once I'm done, I'll press enter. A sales icon has been created. So the next one I'm going to create is profit icon. So for profit icon, I'm just going to paste this formula and change the name of the measure to profit icon. Once I change the name of the measure, I'll also change the sales year over year from our if function and include profits year over year since we are calculating for profit. So once you're done, so you see how it's easier to copy formulas, especially if it's the same thing that you have to create again. So instead of having to type the entire formula or calculations over again, you can just copy and paste and make some minor edits to make your work faster and easier. So I'm just going to press enter. So that is it for our icon. So after creating this icon, one more thing that we need to create is, the icon color. So we want the icon to change. So let me show you how this icon is going to appear by default. If I click on card visual over here and drag it here and I select sales icon. So this is our sales icon. So I'll just click here to format this visual. I'll change this sales icon to 14. So once you change the font size, the icon size is just going to reduce on its own. Then I'm going to remove the category label. So this is our sales icon. Okay, I'll also come to general tab, select effect and remove the background. So you see, by default, our icon is red, and we have to automate it because you cannot be coming to your report to change it to a particular color if you need it to change to a particular color. So how do we automate this? We have to create another measure. So we'll select on this measures table and select new measure. So under this new measure, we want to call it sales icon color. Let's give it that name, sales icon color. Then we're going to use an if function. So this formula is going to say if sales year over year is greater than 0, it should be a green icon. So we are going to type the name of the color, else it should be a red icon. Then I'm going to close the bracket. So that is it for the icon color. Remember, I have to create this too for our profit icon. So I'm going to just copy it, of course, and press enter so our sales icon color can be created. Then we'll just create one more measure. So I'll click on new measure and paste the formula I copied. So here I'm just going to change it to profit. Then for this logical test, I'll also change it to profit year over year. So this is it for the measure that we want to create now. So let's see how this works. Remember, we have a triangle here. Remember, this is our sales year over, this is our sales icon rather. So we want it to change based on this year over year change. So what we are going to do is to select on this icon, click on format your visual. Then where you have your color value, you select it. When you see this FX, you click on it because that is where we will set our conditional formatting. Then under the format styles, we want to have a rule. We want to create a rule. So when you see what field should we base this on, you click the drop down, click your measure. So we want to base this sales icon on sales icon color. So I'm going to click sales icon color. So the first rule is if this value is green, just type the exact name that you typed for the color when you were creating the measure. Then you also have to select the color for that green color. Okay, I don't have green color on my theme colors, so I'm just going to select a green color for that. And that is my green color. Then I'm going to click on new rule because I want to add for the next color, which is red. Then I'll select here, and I have red color on my theme, so I'll just select. So this is the color I want to format this. I'll click OK. Once I click OK, you see that our icon has automatically changed to green because the sales year over year is greater than 0. So I'm just going to reduce this icon and drag it to where it should be placed. I'm going to reduce it and place it here. I can still reduce it a bit or readjust it a bit rather. Okay, so that is it for our sales icon. And the next thing we want to add here, is our sales for last year. So I'm still going to use I can copy this card visual. Over here, and I'll tick up the sales year over year. Remember, card visual takes only one value at a time. So what I'm going to add next is sales last year. So I'm going to select sales last year. Sorry, I didn't select it. I'm going to select sales last year. So you see that the format, after copying the card visual, the formatting has already automatically changed this other one too, and that is exactly what we want, so as to make our work a bit faster. And I'm going to select this. I'm going to duplicate that. After duplicating it, I'll just drag it down here. I want to change this to, I want to call this PY, this text I'm creating. PY means previous year. So this is like a previous year. Remember, sales last year is like sales for the previous year. So as we are going to be filtering our data, is also going to filter based on previous year. So that is how we want this card visual to look like. I'm just going to place it right here. So remember to always make sure that the font size is the same across board, so that your visuals are going to show properly and the way it should show. So I'm just going to increase this, select this PY. I'm going to select the PY. It has to be selected so that we can change the font size. I'm going to choose 14 as the font size. Okay, so after that, I'm just going to reduce this just a little bit and drag it up. Okay, so that is that. And also for our icon, I'm just going to make sure that the icon has the same font size with everything. Okay, our icon is already 14, so we are right on track. One more thing I can readily add here to this particular KPI, I just want to insert a line. So I'm going to insert this line just to demarcate our previous year from our sales year over year, just to add some beauty and meaning to what we are doing. So under style, I'll click on border. So I'll change the border color to this and close this style. Then for the rotation, for shape, we're just going to type 90. We want to rotate it vertically. So I'm going to reduce this. I'm just going to reduce it to fit at that KPI point. Now after reducing it, I'll just drag it up to this point. So if anything that you've inserted is not properly aligned, remember you can always adjust it. So if you want to change any font color here, you are at liberty to change it and make sure that your dashboard comes out nicely and very beautiful. Okay, of course, so far as it's communicating the insights that is needed, so you should create it and make it more aesthetically appealing. So right now, I'm just going to readjust everything inside this KPI because I want to reduce the shape. So I'm going to readjust them and then reduce the shape just a little bit. Okay, so after reducing this shape, I would have to select the entire KPI. So I want to copy and paste. So we use it to create our other KPIs. So I'm going to copy and paste the first one here, align it properly. I'll just keep doing Ctrl V so I can keep pasting from the very first copy action I did. Then I am going to paste one more time so we can create something else. So this is how my KPIs are going to show. This is how my KPIs are going to show. So right now, I'll just go ahead to change things I need to change in this KPI. So first I'll come here to change sales to profit, because the second KPI is profit. Then I press enter. Then I'll click on this card visual here. I'll select off total sales and select total profit. Then for our sales here, I'm just going to select this particular card visual and tick off sales last year. Then we'll now select profit last year, since we are looking at profit. For our year over year change, I'm going to click that card visual. I'll tick off sales year over year and select profit year over year. So we see that profit year over year does not have a percentage, and we want it to have a percentage. So I'm going to percentage symbol. So I'm going to select it and click here to include the percentage to this profit, and also remove the decimal points. So I'm going to type 0 and press enter. So you can see that our profits year over year has equally changed. Then for the icon color, I'm just going to remove the sales icon and add profit icon. So for that profit icon, we can also come back here to format this visual. So we'll click down and click on conditional formatting. The only thing we'll need to change here is to change it to profit icon color. So the rules still remain the same, and I'll click OK. So that is it for our total profit. So we've changed everything here. Everything is now based on profit. So for this particular one, we don't need these other KPIs here. I'm just going to select them and remove it. Then I'm going to change the title here to other quantity, because we want to show our other quantity. I want to show our other quantity, and I'm going to readjust it so that the other quantity should show on one line. Then I'll place it right in the center. Then I'm going to select this card measure and remove the total sales. Once I remove the total sales, I'll come over to our sales data, then select the other quantity. So that is our other quantity. Then for this last KPI, I'm also going to remove all of this because we don't need it. Then I'm going to change this to total products. So we want to know the total product. I'll also readjust it so it's going to show on one line, after which I can drag it and place it on the center. Then I'll select this card visual and I'll go to measures table, tick off the total sales. What we need there is our product, so I'll go to sales product and select product's name. So this product name should show us a total count of the products that we have. So under format visual, I'll click here, and where you have fields, I'm just going to click this drop down and scroll down to select count distinct. So we want the distinct, means that we want unique number of products that we have without duplicates. So this is the total products that we have for this data set, for the data set in this project. So we're done with our KPIs, which was like a little bit taxful because we had to create a lot of measures. So the next thing we're quickly going to do, I'm going to copy and paste this particular shape and readjust it. Remember, it's easier because you don't always have to start selecting everything newly. So I'm just going to readjust it and drag it down here. So I'm going to copy So I'm going to copy and paste this. So this is it. This is my visual. I want to make sure that everything is going to be properly aligned. So I'll bring this over here. I can just bring this over here just a little bit. Yes. And do the same thing for the down part. So this is how our visual is going to be. We've finished with the basic structure. We'll just go ahead to start adding our charts that will answer the objective question, because we're looking at the sales performance. So we'll start answering those questions by creating our visualizations. So the first chart that we're going to create is a line chart. I'm going to select a line chart and drag it down here. I'm going to drag this line chart down here, and once I drag this chart down here, what I'm going to add is going to be the total sales. So I'll click on my measure, select total sales. Then I'm going to select the month. I want to show our monthly and yearly sales. How do I do this? I'm going to create an hierarchy for our date right now. So this is how you can go about it. So right here on the date column, I'm going to right click. Once you right click, you scroll down, you see create hierarchy. So I'll click the create hierarchy. If you notice, there's a date hierarchy that has been created here. In order to add anything to the hierarchy, just go to any of the column that you want to add. So I want to first of all add year. I'm going to right click on year and add to hierarchy. So you see the hierarchy that you've created being listed. So for now, I have only date hierarchy. So I'm going to click on it. After that, I'll now right click on month and also add to hierarchy. So I'll add it to the hierarchy. If I click the drop down on this hierarchy, you can see the year and month that has been added to this hierarchy. This is how this hierarchy is going to work. I'm going to select the date hierarchy, and it has been added to our line charts here. It has been added to our line chart here. So I'm just going to adjust it. So what this hierarchy does is that it gives you drill buttons, drill up, drill down, even it takes you to the next level of your report. So if I click right now, it's showing months, it's even showing the days and the months here. So if I click to drill up on this hierarchy, it's just going to take me to the next level of my report. So right now I can also come down. So when you hover on it, it's going to show you different text that describes what this button stands for. So if I hover here, it says go to the next level in the hierarchy. I'm going to select it. So this next level is the year. So for this year, for this particular drill mode button that you see here, this drill down, once you select this, you see that drill mode is on. So what this drill mode does is, right where you have the year, you can select any year. Once you select any year, it just takes you to the next level. It takes you to the month of that year. So right now, if you scroll up, if you drill up, this is 2012. So if I select on 2012 data point, it is taking me to the months, the monthly sales of 2012. So this is how it's showing. Then I can turn off the drill mode and of course go back to my initial hierarchy, or I come down to the next level in my hierarchy. So I want the monthly sales to show, so you can always communicate to your stakeholders. They can always drill up to see the yearly sales for this report. So after that, I'm just going to click on format visual. So for the visual, I'll first of all click on the x-axis. I want to change the color of the axis to this color. I want to change the font size to 10. I want to change the font size. Okay, let me make it 11. Then I'm going to remove the title because the axis is already written with the name of the month, so it's descriptive enough for us to know. The next thing I'm going to do is I'll do the same thing for y-axis. I'm going to remove the title. I'm going to remove the title of the y-axis, and I'm also going to change the font size of the value to 11. I'll change the font color as well. That's the font color. Then I'll close the y-axis. For the lines, I'm going to select line and scroll down to where I have colors. So to where I have colors, I'm going to select this color. Then I'll scroll down to where I have markers. I want to add markers to this line chart. So the markers is just indicating the cells for each of the months. So you can reduce the size of your markers if you want to. Then you can also change the color of the marker if you want to. But for now, I want the color to just remain the same. You can also add data labels if you wish to add it to your line chart. So for my line chart, I just want to reduce the stroke width a little. I want to reduce it to 2. And that is that for my line chart. The next thing I'll do is to go to General tab. Then for the title, I want to say monthly sales trend. So you can give it any descriptive title. Monthly sales trend. So the font size for the title is okay. I'm just going to change the text color to white. After doing that, I'll select effect and click off the background. So one more thing I need to quickly do is to come back to visual. Then I'll select the grid lines and remove the horizontal grid lines. I don't need the grid lines there. And since my line width is still looking a bit smaller, I can just allow the stroke width to remain at 3, so it looks a little bit bold. So that is it for our line charts. The next thing we can create here is the weekly sales trend. How do we create the weekly sales trend? We're going to use a clustered column chart to create this. I'm going to drag this chart over here. Then I'm going to use my total sales. Okay, let me add the day of week number, and I'm going to add my total sales. So this is how it's going to look like. So for different weeks, we know we have 52 weeks in a year. So you can see which week was doing well and which week was not doing well. So this is basically like weekly sales trend. Okay, so in order to format these, I can just quickly click on this line chart, click on format painter and copy the formatting to this point. Okay, so this is the formatting has been applied to our x-axis title and y-axis title. Then we can go ahead to click format visual so we can change other things. So for our x-axis, since it is week number that we are looking at, I'll just decide to leave the title on. Then I'm going to change the font size of the title. I'm going to change it to 11 and also change the color so it is visible. So you can use the auto text or you just change the text to week number. So that is it. And the next thing I can change here, so the next thing I can remove is the grid lines. I don't want the grid lines to show, so I'm going to take off the vertical grid lines. After which I can come to my columns. I want to change the colors of this column, so I'm going to select this shade. Okay, it's looking a bit light, so I'm just going to select this shade of, okay, this shade is actually cool. We're going to leave it at that. Then I'll come to General tab and change the title. So I can change it to weekly sales. So that is it for our second chart. The next chart we are going to create is top 10 products table. So in order to create a table, you just come to your visuals, select table. So for this table, I'm just going to drag it down here and readjust it. So I'll go to our products table. I'll first of all select our product's name. Once I'm done selecting our product name, I will be adding our data quantity, order quantity. So I'll select order quantity and I'll go to our measures and select total sales. So since we want the top 10 products to show, we can come to filter this. So under the filter pane, I'm going to, under this product name, I'm going to select this drop down. Where you have filter type, I'm going to select the drop down and choose top n. So n could be any number. So I want to choose top 10 because we are looking at the top 10. Then I'm going to drag the total sales measure from here and add it under this by value. So we are saying that we want to show the product number. We want to show the top 10 products. We want to show the top 10 products by their sales. So I'm going to apply the filter. After applying the filter, our top 10 has been added. So I'm just going to readjust this table over here. Just going to readjust it a little bit. So the next thing I am going to do is just to format this table right away. I'll click here to format this table. For the first thing, for the values, I want to change all the text color. I want them to have the same text color. So the background color should be this, and the alternate text color should be this, and the alternate background color should also be this color. Okay, so that is how it should be for now. For our column headers, we will change the text color as well. We'll change the text color and also change the background color to this color. After changing the background color, so you can always change any other thing that you want to change here. For now, I don't want to show my total. Remember, I am not calculating anything on the table. I'm just showing the top 10 products. I'm showing the top 10 products on that particular table. So after that, we'll click on grid. Then I'm going to, under grid, I'm going to scroll down, select border. And for this border color, I'm going to change it to, can change it to this same color too. Okay, so that is it for our border. Then I can come to General tab, select effect and tick off the background. For the title, I can give this title top 10 products. Remember, you can always use text box to also create your title. But for this project, I just want to use top 10 products and I'm going to change the text color to white. Okay, so that is our top 10 products being displayed here. I'm just going to readjust this table a little. I'm going to readjust this. So I'm just going to readjust this table just a little bit. Okay, so when I hover on here, you see that my cursor has changed. I want to readjust it so that the total sales will show the way it should show. They will also add data bars to this top 10 products. In order to add data bar, you click on add data to your visual. So where you have all these other quantity, since it's showing some, you can always double click on it and change the name Of course, you can change any name that you want to change. Then for the total cells, I'm going to click on that drop down, select conditional formatting, then select data bars. Then for our data bars, we want to go from the lowest to the highest. So for the lowest, I'm going to select this. Then that's for our positive bar. Then I'm going to make it from right to left. Okay, let's make it this color. I think this one is okay. The bar direction is right to left, and I'm going to select OK. So this is our bar direction. The color is not coming out the way we want it, so I can go back to the conditional formatting, click on the data bars and select a darker shade of that color. And yes, our color is showing the way we want it to. So if you want to sort this, you can click on these three dots for more options. Then we want to sort by total cells. So we are sorting it in descending order. So the very top 10 products is showing here, while others are being listed below. So that is it for our top 10 products. The next thing we're going to create is top performers. Okay, so we're going to look for the sales by product category and also brand name. So we're going to use bar charts to create this particular visual. I'm going to reduce this bar chart. I'll quickly add the total sales, and under the sales product, I'm going to add brand name. So this is our brand name. So I'll quickly format this. In order to format this, I'm just going to remove the title from the y-axis. I'll change the color to this. I'll change the color to this and make this 11. Then I'll do same thing for x-axis. For x-axis, I'm going to remove the title, and also I'm going to change the color as well. I'm going to change this color. Then for our bars, I'm going to select this and scroll down so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, for our bars, we want to use a conditional formatting. So I'm going to click here, conditional formatting. Our lowest value, we want it to be this value. We can add a middle color. Then our middle color value will be this. Then the highest color value will be a darker shade of that color, and we click OK. So you can see the different color variations. So back here, still selected on the visual, I'm going to scroll up to where I have my legend. I don't want the legend to show. Then I'm going to add data labels. I'm going to add my data labels here. So for these data labels, I can just scroll down to change the values of the data labels. So I want to just change the colors of the data label. Okay, so you can decide to place it. You can decide to place the data label anyway. So you have options whether you want to place it inside the bar, outside, or just any of those options. So that is it for my data label. I'll come to general tab. Then for my title, I'm going to say sales by brand name. So sales by brand name is okay. I'll change the text color. Remember, all my titles have white text color. Once I'm done with that, I'll select effect and remove the background. So this is how my chart is. I'm just going to copy. So because of how small this chart is, I'm going to remove the data labels. So I'll allow the x-axis to hold the different values for for each of the brands. So I'm going to just tick off the data labels. So after ticking that off, I'm just going to copy this particular visual. Since it's the same thing I want to create here, what I am going to do right now is I'm going to remove the brand name. Then I'll choose products category. So this is for our product category. So for now, the only thing I need to change is the title. I'll change the title to product category. I'm going to change it to product category. So that is it for this title here. So right now I am done with that. I can readjust this particular. So I'm going to just readjust my page a little so that I don't have these scroll bars over here. So I'll just come to my canvas setting. Under the height, I'll just make it 850 so that I can readjust my bars a little. So I'll readjust that. Then I'll also do similar thing for this particular shape. I'll just readjust it to this point. So basically what I'm doing is I don't want these bars, these scroll bars to show here. I want everything to fit into what I am doing. So that is how it should be. I'm just going to scroll it up a little and scroll it down. Okay. So that is it for now. Remember, you can always adjust it as the need arises. The next thing I am going to create quickly is our slicers. Okay, I see my order quantity is still not showing the way it should. I'm going to select my order quantity and just readjust it. Okay, the next thing I'm going to add is my slicer. So I'll quickly add my slicer. The first slicer I'm going to add is a date slicer. So I'm going to select date. I'm going to select slicer and select date. So I'll select the date column and I'll format it under slicer settings. Okay, slicer settings is okay. I don't want the slider to show. For the title, I'm going to change the title. Okay, I'm going to give it a title rather. I'll say select date to view. So that is the title, and I'm going to change this text color to this color. No, I'm going to change this text color to this. Then I'll come back to visual and click off the slicer header and right back to general tab. I'm going to remove the effects. I'm going to remove the background. So this is what our slicer looks like. So I'll just drag it over here and place it nicely by this point. So this is our first slicer. The second slicer I am going to create, I'll just copy this and paste. I want to add years to this slicer. So I'm going to tick off date and select year. So for year, I want it to show. I'm going to select the slicer settings for this year. And we want it to show a tail. So this is how our tail is going to show. So for the values, we'll change the background first to see how the color looks. So I'm going to change the background to this color. Okay, we can actually increase it a bit, change it to this color. And the font color, we will want it to have this font color. So that is it for our date. I'm going to quickly select, I'm going to change the title. Remember, it was a slicer that we copied. So I'm going to say select here. So that is it for our title. I can align it to the center and just place it right here. So that is it for our date slicer. You can increase the font size of any of these date slicer. Then quickly, the next thing I want to create is, I'm just going to add a product slicer at once. So I can just add a slicer here and select my product category. So for this product category, I want a drop down. So I'm going to select a drop down. I'm going to select a drop down and I'll come to General tab, select Effects and take this off. So back to my visual, and under the slicer header, I'm just going to increase the font to maybe 14 and change the font color to have this color. So that is it for our slicer header. Then for the values, I'm also going to change the font color of the values. I'll change it to this color as well so we can see our values. So the slicer header, I can quickly change the font color of the slicer header to another color. So I can quickly change the slicer header. Okay, for the text, I want to give it this, our general color. So that is it for our slicer, our product category slicer. Just allow it to be there. I'm going to copy and paste and create a slicer for states because we have a states column here. So under cell states, I'm just going to select states for this slicer. Okay, I'm going to remove product category first so that all our states is going to display. But for the state slicer, I want the slicer settings to be a vertical list. So it's going to show some of the states. You can scroll down to select any of the states that you want to select. So that is it for our slicer. The next thing I quickly want to create here is a navigation for this, our report. But before I do that, I'm going to name this as sales overview. Press enter. Then I'm also going to create, okay, I'll quickly duplicate this page. I'll quickly duplicate this page, and duplicate of this page is going to be regional analysis. Let's type it in caps. Regional analysis. Okay, so I press enter. Then I'll go back to my sales overview and I'll click on insert tab, then select buttons. Once I scroll down to navigator, I'm going to choose page navigator. So you see that our page navigator has already captured our two pages. So what I'll do right now is to come and select the grid layout. I want the grid layout to change from horizontal to vertical. So this is our grid layout. I'm just going to resize this. For this grid layout, I'm just going to resize this a bit. So this is it. So I can drag down our slicers just a little bit, just to create space for our page navigator. So I'm just going to scroll down a bit. So for this page navigator, we're going to format it immediately. I'll click on style, So at its default state, we want it to have this color that it has. As its default state, we want it to have the black color, and the fill color should be maybe this color in its default state. Then we're going to change the states, and we'll say when it is selected, the font color should be white when it is selected, and we'll also want to make it bold, maybe increase it to 14 when it is being selected. We'll change the font size to 14 when it is being selected. Then we want the fill color. We want the fill color to be this color when it is being selected. This is how our fill color should be. So this is basically what we have for this first page. You can quickly go to the next page. In order to do that, you just, for now, since you've not published it online yet, you just press Ctrl and click on the button. It's going to take us to the next button. So that is how Page Navigator works. So here, since we had already created this page without the Page Navigator, what I'm going to do is go back to Sales Overview. I'm going to copy this Page Navigator and also click on Regional Analysis to go to the next page. Then I'm just going to paste the Page Navigator here so that we can always go back to Sales Overview anytime we want to. So over here, we're just going to quickly create something. So for now, for this next page, we're going to remove these visuals. Remember, we are in the second page, so we're going to remove the entire visual because we are creating different things for this. I'm going to remove one of this shape because this first part is going to hold our map. So I'm going to select here and drag down. After dragging down, the first thing I'm going to add is our map. But before then, I'm going to select states because I have a state column. I'll select states. Once I select it, under column tools, I'll come to data category. I'll select it and select state. So it's going to categorize it as a state. So after selecting state, I'm going to just select this. Okay. I want to select the shape. Then I'm going to select the state. Once I select this state, it's already showing the state. Then I'll come to my measures and click total sales. And of course, I'm going to just adjust this. So you see the total sales by each of the states. So under this total sales, we can readjust this map to fit this background. So I'm going to click Format Visual. Then for map settings, we want to choose a dark setting for this map. Then after the dark settings, for the bubbles, we want it to have our colors. Okay, we're going to use conditional formatting for our bubbles too. So for this conditional formatting, we can just use gradients. So for the lowest color, it should have that. We'll add a middle color. Middle color should be something darker, and the highest color should be, the maximum color should be, the highest value rather, should have a darker shade of that color. Then I'm also going to filter the state. So I'm going to select under filter pane, I'm going to select state, and filter type, I'm going to select top N. So we want to show the top 5 states here, and I'm going to drag the total sales over here and press here. I'll apply the filter. So you see our top 5 is already showing. So what we can do next is to show the category labels. So I'm going to show the category labels over here. And for the category labels, we'll just increase the value so it's visible. So you are just going to see each of those states that have those different has the highest cells. So I'm going to select general, remove the background, and change, of course I have to change the title, cells by state. I'll change the text color of this title. I can just drag down and readjust my title to, okay, I'll have to scroll up a bit. I readjust and align it to the center. So that is it. The next thing we're going to create is a sales by promotion. So we're going to use a clustered column chart. Under clustered column chart, I'm going to click sales promotion table. I'll click and drag sales promotion table. I'm going to choose promotion name, and under promotion name I'm going to select total sales. So for this I am just going to drag here. So this promotion, you can see that okay, regular sales has the highest sales by promotion. So you can actually, this can actually help the company to know if they are doing enough marketing when they are giving promotions. You know, most times when people give promotions, that's when they give discounts. So the general assumption could be that they will have a lot of sales. But if you're having more sales during your regular sales, then there's something that you're not doing so well during your promotions. That is why the promotions might be lower than the sales for promotion might be lower than the regular sales time. So we'll quickly format this visual now. I'll click on it to format. For the x-axis, I'm just going to remove the title and also change the color. I'll make it 11. Then for the y-axis, I'm going to do the same thing for y-axis. I'm going to do the same thing for y-axis. I'm going to change the color. I'm going to change the font size as well. And I'm also going to remove the grid lines. I'll remove these vertical grid lines. After that, after removing the grid lines, I'll click on bars. I want to change the color of these bars. So I'm going to give it a default color. I'm going to give it this color. Okay, so that's fine. I'll click on general tab. Then for the title, I'm going to say sales by promotion name. Then I'll change the text color to white. After which I'll also remove the background of this. So this is our sales by promotion. The last set of visuals we're going to create is to check the sales by channel name and profits by channel name. We want to see how the profits are performing. So I'm going to click a donut chart, drag it down here, drag the donut charts just a little bit to that point, and we want to check sales by channel name. So I'm going to select our channel name and I'm going to select our total sales measure. So for our total sales measure, I'll quickly click to format this visual. I'll first of all remove the background so we can see the colors we're working with. And for the title, I'll say sales by channel name, and I'm going to change the text color of the title to white. After changing it to white, I'll go back to the visual, and for the legend, I want it to be by the top left. I want it to be by the top left, and I'm going to remove the legend title. So I'll also change the color of the legend to dark color. Okay, so then we'll go to our detail labels. Under detail labels, I want the label content to have only the data value. Then for the values, I'll also change the color as well. So I'm going to change it. I'm going to change the color to this. Then for our slices, okay, yes, these different slices that you see here on that donut chart. I'm just going to change the color for each of them. So for this online color, we want it to have the same color but different shades or different hues, if you call it that. I'll select here, and the last one is just going to be this. So that is it for our sales by channel name. I'll quickly copy this because I want to create the same thing for profits. So I'll quickly copy that. The only thing I'm going to do right here, I just want to adjust it a bit. The only thing I'm going to do right here is to tick off total sales. No. I'll undo it. Total sales, profits by sales channel is for the second donut chart here. So I'm going to select total profit. Then I'll change the title to profit by channel name. Okay, so this is how you can create a very beautiful report and dashboard that will be able to communicate your insights to that will be able to communicate insight to your stakeholders. So another thing I would like to say is, if you're creating dashboard, always try to keep it simple. If it's communicating the insights that is relevant to the stakeholders, it is very okay. So you don't have to include lots and lots of charts and visual within one particular report page. You can create as many report page as you want to. Okay, so if I click back on sales overview, it's just going to take me back to the next page in my report. So one more thing, you see, as you're clicking, if I click on this shape, it has these anchors that can easily make this shape move from one point to the other. So in order not to make your shape move, you can always come to your view tab, click on view tab and select to lock objects. So these objects are locked now. They cannot move from one point to another. If I select any of these objects, you see that those anchor points are not there. Okay, but you can always remove the lock, or you can always unselect the lock object. So this is how you can create basic and beautiful dashboard. If I select the year now, you're going to see that everything is going to change in this dashboard. Like I selected 2013, so it means that the sales for 2012 was greater. That is why our sales year over year icon has changed, including the profit. Okay, so if you select for 2014, you just see the sales the way it should appear, okay, or the way it should display. So that is it for our dashboard. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much, guys.